Welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and coming up on today's program, the top Texans rookies so far during training camp. We're going to see a lot of these guys play tomorrow against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to break down who's been impressing the most so far at camp. Now, we have a brand new IG here for Texans Today. I just made it actually 2 days ago. So I want to get as many Texans fans, as many Texans followers as I can. The link to my new IG is down below in the comment section. The first 50 people that give me a follow, you're getting a follow back on my new Texans IG. I'm going to be posting a lot of Texans content on there, a lot of my Texans shorts on there, so you don't want to miss it. Make sure you go and give me a follow. And the only way that you can claim our CJ Stroud raffle jersey tomorrow is if you're following me on IG, because I'm going to ask you to DM me, make sure that you confirm everything. So if you want to get in on our CJ Stroud new jersey raffle tomorrow, make sure you give me a follow on IG. Now, obviously, we're talking about the Texans rookies, and maybe the one that's impressed more than anybody so far has been Kamari Lassiter, but he is currently dealing with a soft tissue injury and, wasn't at practice yesterday. And in my opinion, I don't know if he's going to even play tomorrow. This came in from Aaron Wilson yesterday. He said rookie corner Kamari Lassiter is currently recovering from a soft tissue injury per league sources. Same thing with defensive end Will Anderson Jr. Neither injury regarded as a long-term issue. And everything that I'm hearing from my sources within the Texans organization is that Kamari Lassiter, Will Anderson probably won't suit up tomorrow, probably won't play tomorrow, but it's not anything to be worried about or concerned about. It's kind of like Jeremy Chuggs so far during training camp of like, he's going to be good to go during the regular season, and they're just being overly cautious with these injuries. Nothing really to worry about too much, but I don't expect Lassiter or Anderson to suit up tomorrow for the Texans against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to ask you this question before I give you my top 5 rookies that have impressed so far besides Kamari Lassiter. I mean, that's the easy way out to say Kamari Lassiter. So I wanted to give 5 others. Let me know which rookie has impressed you the most so far during Texans training camp. First up on the list, and this may be a surprise for some people, I'm going with the UDFA out of BYU, Max Tooley. I mean, look at that lettuce right there on his dome. I mean, he has really been impressing in a linebacking core that's gotten a lot of reps because of injuries. Del'Shawn Phillips just returned to practice yesterday after being injured for a little bit, and we haven't yet seen Christian Harris because of a soft tissue injury of his own. So it's been wide open so far in this linebacking room. Azeez Al-Shire has been the best player by far, but besides him, a lot of people have been getting run, and one person that has looked pretty good so far has been Max Tooley. And I know what you're probably saying. What does that mean about Jamal Hill, the 6th-round pick out of Oregon? Is he not playing well? Well, I actually just haven't heard a ton on Hill. He still really intrigues me because former safety, he's kind of in that trend of the NFL right now where it's kind of safety turned linebacker, kind of sub-package, nickel dime packages linebacker that Hill could possibly be. But I've just been hearing a lot of good things about Max Tooley, and him being a UDFA, mark my words, if there is any UDFA that makes this final 53-man roster, his name's going to be Max Tooley. Next up on my list, a late-round pick for the Texans out of Auburn. I'm going with Marcus Harris, the defensive tackle. He really impressed me, for the most part, during that Hall of Fame game against the Chicago Bears. Now, the stat sheet won't say it a ton. He had, I believe, 1.5 tackles, a tackle for loss. So not like jumping off the page, but whenever you watch the game, whenever you watch his highlights, he was getting into the backfield pretty regularly. He was really able to kind of shed blocks, get into the backfield, wreak some havoc on that defensive line. And with Danico Autry being suspended for the first 6 games, Mario Edwards Jr., obviously, he's going to come in and start for this Texans team unless they sign somebody or trade for somebody else. He's going to be the de facto starter for this Texans defensive line. But they're going to rely on this depth to, sub in and be kind of guys who come in and give Edwards, give Foley Fatukasi a breather. And I think Marcus Harris can definitely be one of those guys who surprises some people. Like I said, a 7th-round pick this year, but has been looking pretty good so far during training camp and in that first preseason game against the Chicago Bears. Now, coming up, I have some more rookies who have impressed so far during training camp going into our second preseason game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I couldn't do today's show if it wasn't for our amazing sponsors, which is Game Time, my go-to ticketing app, and they should be your go-to ticketing app. Texans football, it's here. Make sure you never miss an opportunity to watch this team in person with our sponsor, Game Time. With Game Time, you can expect last-minute deals. You can save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, comedy, concert shows, and more. All in pricing, you can toggle this feature, and it shows you the upfront price, so you don't have to worry about surprise fees at checkout. You can also see your seat view. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you even buy the ticket. And the lowest price guarantee means if you find a seat in the same section, in the same row for a same event for cheaper, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Next up on the list for me is tight end Cade Stover. And, the tight end room, sneakily for the Texans, has looked really good so far. Dalton Schultz, a little bit of an underrated guy in my opinion. He, doesn't do anything crazy well, but does everything at a pretty consistent rate. And then Brevin Jordan has looked good as well. So Cade Stover, I think him being able to kind of slowly come in and kind of work his way in to this team and not have a ton of pressure on him is going to help him out a ton. I think his connection with CJ Stroud is going to help him throughout the season because their time at Ohio State, obviously they have that chemistry already. So Cade Stover, with what he did in the preseason game against the Bears, I think he looked pretty comfortable, caught a couple balls, actually made a really nice play on a short ball that he caught and then got about an extra 9-10 yards to get a first down. I think Cade Stover has been looking very well for the Houston Texans so far. Next up is going to be offensive tackle Blake Fisher. And I was really debating on whether or not he was going to be on that first slot for me because Blake Fisher has stepped in admirably. Well, that was kind of hard for me, producer Sheeps. Admirably so far for this Texans team and this Texans offensive line. He was drafted in the second round out of Notre Dame, mostly played right tackle for them, but he has really been the definition of a swing tackle so far for this Houston Texans team. While Jeremy Tunsil has been out, he's been getting a ton of reps at left tackle, and with Tytus Howard being injured as well, he could maybe even step in for right tackle for this team at some point this season. He's a guy who can play on both ends and has played really well against the Bears in that preseason game. I believe gave up like one pressure or no pressures. I mean, he looked really good in that game up against the Chicago Bears and has looked really good in practice so far. So Blake Fisher impressing a ton. I told y'all before the draft, the Texans are going to add to this offensive line with all the injuries that happened last year. Nick Caserio did his thing, and he did that with drafting Blake Fisher. Lastly on the list is going to be safety Calen Bullock. And he has really kind of progressively gone up and up the depth chart so far during training camp and during the preseason, so much so that they felt comfortable enough to move Jalen Petrie from that safety spot into more of a nickel slot role so far in preseason and during the training camp. And with Calen Bullock really playing well for this Texans team, I mean, this safety room is probably going to look a lot better than it did last year. Jimmy Ward and Jalen Petrie were the two guys last year, but now that you have Calen Bullock on the back end, does that solve the Texans' secondary issues that they had last season? And, there was reports, then there was not reports around Justin Simmons possibly going to the Houston Texans. Had a little bit of a source off at the beginning of the week. But maybe the Texans front office, maybe this Texans defensive coaching staff feels like they don't need Simmons because they have Calen Bullock. Maybe he's impressed them so much that they don't feel the need to go out and get Simmons. That's the only reason I see to not go out and try to get this man is if you truly believe Calen Bullock is ready to go and ready to start for this team and make an instant impact for this team this season. So if they're not going to go out and get Simmons, I think that means they think that highly of one Calen Bullock. Now, I mentioned at the top of the show, we have our live watch party for the Texans' second preseason game against the Pittsburgh Steelers coming up tomorrow. If you made it all the way to the end of the video and if you're joining me for our live watch party tomorrow, go ahead and go type me down in the comment section. And another reminder, if you want to win that CJ Stroud jersey tomorrow, you got to make sure you show up tomorrow and make sure you give our new IG page a follow. The link is going to be in the comment section below. Make sure you give it a follow and slide in those DMs if you don't mind.